that some people are irredeemable.
Mm-hmm.
I believe if you provide for people, and this has been shown in small scale studies, providing housing, healthcare, increased wages, actually a functioning society, because we don't live in a functioning society unless you in the like top 5%, right?
Well,
So we actually
I think that most people in America are living in a pretty functioning society.
no, well, if you like the 60% of workers that live in paycheck to paycheck, I don't know when the last time you had to, but that is not easy existence. And I'm speaking as someone who's a member of the proletariat, someone who grew up broke, who I literally housed 3 people in the last 2 years who otherwise would have been homeless.
Sure, and that, I mean, like there are
he worked 70 hours a week, but he was literally on the verge of being homeless, can't afford a car. What kind of existence is this? We live pathetic lives. People literally work 60 hours a week. They come home and they watch Netflix and they think we live in advanced society. How we advance? We don't have health care. How we advance if people can't travel? How we advance if people don't have family paid maternity leave? That's decolonizing your mind. The things that you guys think make you happy is not, which is why depression rates is through the roof, which is why they subscribe you guys these pills, and you guys take these pills like, oh, everything's going okay. I guess I'm happy now. No, this society is so broken, it broke your brain. Your brain is so broken that everyone taking depression pills now because our society is junk. Like, this is not how we're supposed to live. Now, some people have it lucky. Like I have it lucky now because as a writer, political commentator, like I'm lucky I'm not in that grind and same as you. But most people can't say that. Most people are drawn factory buys. Now, I do concede this. If you are part of that upper bourgeoisie, you probably have a great life. You get a ton of vacation time. You got a great existence. You enjoy all the great technologies and all the benefits that America had to offer. But as you see, as time goes on, that number is shrinking. The wealth income disparity between Black and white Americans is worse right now than it was at the height of the civil rights era. We have gone backwards in every sense of the word, but people got these new toys. People got this, and all of a sudden they think, oh, this shit is great. But then they ask them questions, why are you still depressed? They ask them, why are we so depressed? Why people killing themselves? Why there's so many mass shootings? We live in a completely savage and uncivilized society. And that is shown by the results on the people. Now, I just want to say we got 3 minutes left. I forgot I don't have Pro on my Zoom. We either can wrap up or we can continue. This is your call.
I think we covered most ground. Is there any final things you want to bring up, or?
Not much, man. I appreciate the
special counsel investigating Biden's handling of classified information found that Biden hid documents and his actions was a national security threat, but they are not going to charge him with a crime. But check this out. They didn't exonerate Joe Biden. They're not charging him with a crime because he's a feebled, old, dementia-riddled man who doesn't even remember when he was vice president. So the Biden administration, anticipating how disastrous this special counsel ruling would be, decided to hold a press conference right afterwards. Okay, Mr. President, it's very crucial for you to go out there and look very strong, sharp, and mentally competent after that devastating special counsel report in order to instill confidence in the American people that you are still fit. And you just confused the president of Egypt with the president of Mexico. God damn it.
The president of Mexico, Sisi, did not want to open up the gate to allow humanitarian material to get in. I talked to him. I convinced him to open the gate. I talked to Bibi to open the gate on the Israeli side.
This press conference was a disaster for Joe Biden. If there was any doubt in the legitimacy of the special counsel report, it was quickly vindicated after Joe Biden's unhinged performance at the press conference.
Mr. President, for months when you were asked about your age, you would respond with the words, watch me. Many American people have been watching, and they have expressed concerns about your age.
That is your judgment. That is your judgment. That is not the judgment of the press.
They express concerns about your mental acuity. They say that you are too old. Mr. President, in December, you told me that you believe there are many other Democrats who could defeat Donald Trump. So why does it have to be you now? What is your answer to that question?
Because I'm the most qualified person in this country to be president of the United States and finish the job I started.
Why are you refusing the names of world leaders?
Yesterday was a terrible day for Democrats. You had the special counsel report. You had the Supreme Court slapping down the Colorado decision to ban Trump off the ballots. You had Tucker Carlson interview Putin, where he completely destroyed the narrative around Ukraine and the Russophobia we've seen in this country. The neoliberal establishment order narrative is crumbling in front of our eyes. Sorry, I fixed audio. What's poppin', my friends? What's poppin'? Sorry, I had fixed audio. My mic was messing up. We're back. What's poppin', my friends, my family? Welcome to Nick at Noon. We have another banger. So sorry, I had my mic. I changed the audio settings and I forgot it messed up. But I'm glad we're back. We still have another banger for you guys. The show on Thursday was fun, man. Putin dropped his Cat Williams style interview to begin the year on, but the politics version of Cat Williams, and people have been in shambles because of that. What I was just talking about before, what you guys probably didn't hear me, was the meltdown the Biden administration was having, because it was a horrific special counsel report that did not even exonerate Biden. It showed that he was guilty of hiding and willfully taking classified documents, but they did not charge him because he's a senile old man. The same way you want to charge someone who can't recollect what happened or their crimes, they can't tell you events, and that's what Biden did when they interviewed him. So it led to a scathing report. So Biden had to do this press conference, and it went just as horrible as you would imagine it would be. It would go. We're gonna cover that later today, but we have another banger guest with you before we get to that, because I have to unpack the reactions that we've seen from the Putin interviews. But I had to bring my great friend on. It's been a while since we had Nick and Zoya, and my powerful friend been helping us get all these great guests. Welcome back, Zoya's Love, Zoya's Life. You guys know how to bring my friend back. What's poppin', Zoya?
Hi, Nick and RBN fam. This is going to be our Tucker and Putin interview. I'll play Putin.
There's no one better to talk about this issue. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you're from formerly Soviet Union, Odessa, right?
Yes,
we had Zoya with us from the beginning, because RBN, we was one of the channels as long, like with our friends as well. Like when you look at Black Agenda Report, Due Distance, Jimmy, Gray Zone, all the anti-imperialist people we feature on our channel, Fiorella Isabel, Comrade Misty, like these are the people who got Ukraine right. The NATO left is melting down after this Putin interview. TYT is melting down. Everyone in the NATO left has been discredited, completely discredited. One of the reasons why we got this issue right, despite the fact that I believe it was an extremely easy issue to get right, is that fact I have my friend Zoya, who knows the history of this region probably better than anyone else. So Zoya, do you want to explain? And I want to get your take on the Putin interview here soon. But I'll start with this. What was your general take on people's reaction to the Putin Tucker interview? I'll pass it to you, my friend.
Well, for one, we definitely cannot avoid mentioning the contrast with Biden's follow-up right after Putin, where we have an elderly man with clear signs of dementia calling the Egyptian president the president of Mexico, versus a man who went on for 2 hours, starting all the way in 860. So the contrast couldn't be starker. But I think Putin just went over a lot of things that have already been covered in RBN, and we've been saying for foreign community is like, this is just regular dinner table conversation. So far from Americans, I see them criticizing the interview as too long and boring, because God, we hate learning things here, but they can't refute any of the points that Putin made. And the people that were fence sitting and being fed only one side of the propaganda and getting the Western narrative only have now began to question it, which I think is a beautiful thing for peace and humanity.
That's why I say the NATO left, they are in shambles because this interview exposed the Bernie Sanders. It exposed the Sam Cedars, the Emma Viglins, the TYTs, all the people who fell for the NATO proxy war, Marianne Williamson and their supporters. Like, how could you get this issue wrong? And Putin and his fabulous history lesson. You guys know I love history. So I found the interview fascinating because I'm a history nerd. When I saw the pushback that a lot of people had that, oh man, it was too long and boring, I'm like, oh, this is the anti-intellectualism that infected our working class. This is the history people have to learn. Now compare that to our leaders. The contrast couldn't be clearer, as I mentioned, because Putin, and this is my perception of Putin, is that he's like this old grandpa. You know, the grandpa who can't shut the fuck up about the past? Putin is the Eastern European grandpa who can't stop talking about what happened in the 70s, 80s, 90s, and he knows a ton of history. That's how I'm going to be. You know that cranky old motherfucker that talk about history all the time? Their grandpa Nick talking about Israel again. Goddamn Gaza genocide. We'll never forget Bernie Sanders and John Fetterman. Nick is 2050. I'm be 60 years old. Still talking about this shit. That's how I see Putin. He's a grandpa Russian guy who know history, very intelligent, and he obsessed with history. When I'm 60, what's that? 2050? Around that time? Be 2050? I'll be, come on, Grandpa Nick, here you go about Israel again. Don't you know Israel was abolished years ago? That revolutionary optimism, my friends. They're like, Nick, don't you know Israel was abolished a long time ago? No, I'll never forget these motherfuckers. You know what happened in Gaza in 2024? That's how Putin is. He's talking about the crimes of the United States and Russia. He's like, man, I don't believe these motherfuckers, man. I thought they hate us because we were the Soviet Union and capitalist and communists. Then we changed our whole ideology and they still hate us. That's Putin right now. That's the humanized interpretation I have of Putin. Old man who won't stop about history. Zoya, do you know people like this? Because that's like this is like the image of like the Eastern European who won't shut up about what happened during the Cold War.
Well,
Zoya, before we get serious.
First of all, Putin greatly benefited from a Soviet education where literacy rates were 99%. So, of course, he could talk circles around most Western politicians. And he's honestly a typical Russian. Even Lenin was sarcastic and snarky. We use facts and humor. This is a Russian tradition. So I'm glad the Western world...
get along with you guys.
Yeah, why not? Russia has always welcomed people and still welcomes people, and people might not know, but 200,000 U.S. citizens still visit Russia every year, in spite of all the fear-mongering. So let's make it 200,001, Nick, one day.
So to call out your mind, fan, as a Black American who lived in the Midwest his entire life, who do you guys think I have better reactions and interactions with? The white liberal, the redneck, or a Russian? I love fucking Russians, man. When I first was learning jiu-jitsu, I trained at this place called Warrior Jiu-Jitsu. This guy who, the funny thing is, he trained jiu-jitsu with a lot of people in the Marines. He was a black belt in like Japanese jiu-jitsu, and there was this Russian dude. I wish I remember his name, and I wish I knew what happened to this guy because this motherfucker was the motherfucker. He was a Sambo champion that was learning MMA. He came to America, and this motherfucker was 18 years old. And he was a Sambo master, destroying everybody. He was a Russian dude. Had one of the funniest dudes I ever met. We became good friends. Russian dude. He knew Sambo. And I was the striker. I learned boxing. My dad was the Golden Glove champion. So I was like, I need to learn jiu-jitsu. I need to learn how to grapple. I need to learn Sambo. And him and his Russian friends was great people. I never had a bad experience with Russians. But they want us to hate Russia. Like I face more racism from the average white liberal. But you guys want us to hate Russians? Now I want to speak on the contrast on this because this is another video I want to show you guys. Another reason why this interview was devastating for the West was because the contrast couldn't be clearer. You just had Biden melting down at a press conference. His only objective was to prove people he wasn't mentally insane, and the only thing he did was show people that he was mentally insane. So compare Biden, now compare it to this motherfucker who's barely human. Like, I guess he classifies as human, Boris Johnson. And this is his reaction to the interview. And I'm gonna ask you this, Zoya, where was the lie that Putin told?
Around the world, people are watching that ludicrous interview with Vladimir Putin conducted by Tucker Carlson, and we must not fall for this tissue of lies, above all for the notion that Putin is somehow fated to succeed in Ukraine. On the contrary, he is doomed to fail. Read about it in the Daily Mail. Around the world, people are watching that.
You guys know that he can't point out specifically where Putin lied. Where's the lie? What's your take on this? And look at this troll. This guy was the leader of the UK. So we just seen Putin, who is, yes, kind of a ranty old grandpa, right? But he's way more sophisticated, way more intelligent. Compare Putin to this fucking clown. Zoe, I want to get your take.
Well, again, being the Putin in this interview, I'd like to pull some receipts out of the archives.
Let's go. We got some Zoya receipts today. Let's go. Just let me know. Let me know.
Open up your DMs and 3 tweets up. The tweet that starts with "Putin is not lying," and
I see. Yeah. Let's go.
And that's the guy that Putin mentioned in his interview, and he was in Istanbul. So here he is, completely backing up what Putin said. And keep in mind, this is from the Ukrainian side.
Yeah, let's watch it and I'll pass it right to you, Zoe, so you can react right afterwards.
Вони готові були закінчити війну, якщо ми візьмемо, як Фінляндія колись там, нейтралітет і дамо зобов'язання, що ми не будемо вступати до НАТО. Коли ми повернулися з Істамбулу, приїхав Борис Джонсон до Києва і сказав, що ми взагалі не будемо з ними нічого підписувати, і давайте будемо просто воювати. От як тільки ми закличемо їх сісти, наступного дня вони складуть делегацію і будуть...
Bro, fam, this is a devastating fact. This was the fact that my mom hit me about, like, what? They blocked the peace deal? Like, this shatters the entire narrative. But Zoya, I'll pass it back to you.
I mean, I'm still seeing Western propaganda trying to spin this and even frame Putin as a warmonger out of this interview. And nothing's going to break Western propaganda more than this. Because we see now the words straight out of Putin's mouth versus what the headlines say. And everyone could hear Putin reiterate over and over again that they have offered peace. They have signed peace deals. He mentioned the Minsk agreements, which were violated by Europe. And then we had the Chancellor of Germany saying, well, you know, we actually only signed the Minsk Accords in order to buy us time to build up troop strength. And Russia, even having its trust violated repeatedly by the West with NATO encroachment and expansion and breaking every treaty that was agreed upon. And now leading up to this verification from the Ukrainian side, saying that there was a peace deal on the table already with signatures on it until Boris Johnson showed up at the behest of the US empire. Be under no illusion that Britain and US are partners in this, that they are actually the ones blocking peace. And that peace deal would have returned Ukrainian territory that now they will never have back. 20% of Ukraine is now gone. 400,000 Ukrainian troops confirmed dead, with many more injured and missing in action because the Ukrainian government doesn't have money to pay pensions to the families of the dead Ukrainian soldiers. So the Russians right now, as they go into Ukrainian territory, are discovering mass graves of Ukrainian soldiers. They are not even returning these people back to their families. The country is in shambles. It's the largest country in Europe and the poorest in Europe before this war started. Millions have already fled. This country will pay the price for US imperialism for decades. So if you care about Ukraine, you will be urging peace. And Russia unequivocally has offered peace, while Western propaganda rags are still saber rattling and trying to frame Russia as an aggressor that wants nuclear war.
They want us to hate Putin and Russia, but Putin is calling out Israel for creating a graveyard of children in Gaza. Meanwhile, the United States is telling you that the International Court of Justice ruling that Israel's committing a genocide is baseless. And they want, Zoya, they tell us with a straight face that one of these people are good and the other one's evil. I really wish I could find this receipt. Go ahead, Zoya. Go ahead.
I mean, with all due respect, they've been stupefying this country for a really long time. It's no accident that education is underfunded and most Americans are clueless about history, geography, or anything that would allow them to form the critical mindset to be able to understand that this is all propaganda. How many countries can America convince you are out to get you? Iran wants to kill you. Iraq wants to kill you. Afghanistan wants to kill you. Somalia wants to kill you. Libya wants to kill you. When will this end? We are going into these countries, like in Syria, where we're stealing 80% of their oil and just robbing them. Americans are bullies that force you to do things at the barrel of a gun, while Putin is describing a new world where countries negotiate through diplomacy and compromise.
Yeah, well said. We can get to. I was trying to find this receipt because the way they categorize this interview, they just outright lying. Like the Wall Street Journal, released this headline. Here's Glenn taking it down. I was trying to find the headline I saw earlier where they said Putin vows to continue war with Europe. And like that's like opposite what he said. Here's Glenn. Tucker Carlson spent roughly 10 to 15 minutes imploring Vladimir Putin will release the Wall Street Journal Ivan Gorchich, vehemently arguing why it's unjust to keep him in no way that no corporate media journalist will ever do about Biden and Assange. Now, this point that Biden's talking about is how they've been painting this interview, and I wanted to read this before I got to the TYT part of this. Because even independent media is doing it, quote unquote independent media. We know they're not truly independent, but they've crafted this story that Putin was going to have a softball interview with Putin, and that's absolutely not what happened. And then you also have Western media. I wish I could find this damn headline. I might find it later for you guys. I don't know why I didn't save it. Where the Wall Street Journal and CNN is just outright lying about what Putin said. He said Putin vows to continue war with the West. He's like, that is not what he said. One of the most important takeaway from that interview is Putin said definitively that he's not he would not march into Poland. He would not march into Europe. That is what he said, but the media tries to twist it to the exact opposite. Let's get to the TYT takeaway. Because look at the headline. The headline says, breaking, Tucker Carlson coddles Vladimir Putin in interview. The best thing about this is their own audience wasn't buying this. And this is why you see the NATO left in shambles over this interview, because they have been discredited. Cenk Uygur spent all his time demonizing people about Putin, right? He's like the textbook example of Putin derangement syndrome. He believed Putin is our number one enemy, and he was all for fighting Russians in Ukraine because he hates Putin that much. Meanwhile, he voted for Joe Biden, the guy who's literally complicit with a genocide. TYT is so unserious, they legitimately believe that Putin has killed more people than Jim Crow Joe, than Barack Obama, the people that they support and voted for. They vote for people and they're going to vote for him again, the people who are complicit with a genocide, but they want us to hate Putin. So what happens? This interview come out, and then Putin is humanized. The person that Cenk has been demonizing as this insane tyrant who's completely unhinged. He does this interview and comes off extremely smart, way smarter than Cenk Uygur, way more dignified than Cenk Uygur. So they can't address that, so they have to lie. They had to lie about what happened in the interview, and I can't wait for your reaction. We're not going to watch the whole thing because we don't have to. We only had to watch only a few minutes because I'm going to show you guys how they react and how the NATO left is in complete shambles because their narrative has been discredited completely. But let's dive into it.
So you said a moment ago that the world would be a lot better if it weren't broken into competing alliances, if there was cooperation globally. One of the reasons you don't have that is because the current American administration is dead set against you. Do you think if there were a new administration after Joe Biden that you would be able to reestablish communication with the US government? Or does it not matter who the president is?
Yes, of course. The lack of world peace really has everything to do with America, nothing to do with the guy who invaded a sovereign country.
Zoya, what did she get wrong there? Because the idea that Ukraine was a sovereign country and this war started in 2022, where Russia invaded Ukraine, that's the lie that she's just trying to tell her audience.
Well, if America wants to have amnesia and forget the Cuban Missile Crisis, I guess any of this would make sense. But America was never okay with Russia putting missiles right on its border. So why would Russia be okay with NATO expansion constantly encroaching and threatening their security? They said that it was a red line for them. What did the West think that would happen when every single academic, even those that are against Russia, came out and said, do not cross this red line. You are going to force Russia's hand to act. And throughout the entire time, Russia was offering negotiations. Now, as far as the history of Ukraine, I don't think we're going to repeat everything that Putin said, but basically Kiev Rus started in Kiev. Kiev Rus. Now Ukrainians want to pretend that Rus doesn't stand for Russia, but yes, it's very comical. So Ukraina, Krai means edge, U means at, Ukraina, at the edge. Ukraine was the edge of Russia. It's not the edge of its own sovereign country. What is it the edge of? Your own name gives away your origins. Come on now. And of course, they were closest to Western influences. And oh, sorry.
They always call us when we live. Like, y'all niggas know we live, man. Go ahead.
Come on, CIA. So Ukraine has claimed it's just revisionism. They're rewriting history when we all know that there was a territory that was named Ukraine amongst many others, but it was Lenin that brought Ukraine into being as what we're seeing now. And Crimea was handed later in the 1950s to this. It was always Russian. And the reason that Lenin did this was because he was strategically trying to create these national identities and merge them together. But he did not foresee the collapse of the Soviet Union and how this would play out and the dangers of carving out this artificial national identity and how it can be hijacked, which is what we saw. Ukrainians and Russians, as Putin pointed out, every second or third person is going to have a friend or relative in Ukraine. I mean, right now, funny enough, Siersky, the replacement for Zelensky, is a Russian that was born near Moscow, educated in Russia. So we're talking about the commander of defense in Ukraine is a full-blooded Russian with Russian parents living in Russia, celebrating Victory Day in Russia. These countries are countries of Slavs. Of course, there was foreign influences coming in through the West, and we heard Putin describe how the borders shifted between Poland and Hungary. I don't want to spend too much time on this, but basically, Ukraine is an artificially created state, and And Russia was more than willing to work with them and actually send them billions in aid throughout their existence and gave them really cheap access to resources like gas. They were trying to work as partners. And this was just a complete backstabbing after the 2014 coup that Putin talked about, where the government was hijacked by CIA-backed neo-Nazis. And that is who is in charge now. And as he accurately points out, the glorification of Nazism came back with highlighting Bandera, who was a murderer of Jews and Poles and many other people with the OUN. Now this murderer's face is in malls, in books, on street names, on statues. So they tore down statues of people who beat the Nazis in World War II and replaced them with somebody that worked with the Nazis.
You're not getting this kind of analysis on TYT. The people that think they're serious. Like, that's why we don't even cover TYT. This is a rare TYT segment from us. They are so deeply unserious. For one, if you think Jim Crow Joe is the lesser two evil over Putin, that he killed less people than Putin, you are deeply unserious. Zoya's love, Zoya's life, way too powerful. You're not getting this analysis on, like, the majority report is a joke. You know what I mean? TYT is a joke. We are considered the deplorable left. Like, why you're not gonna hear this, you're not gonna hear Zoya on these shows. You're not gonna get this perspective on these shows. You're gonna have a Karen millionaire white woman who's gonna lie to you about everything, named Anna Kasparian. Anna Kasparian like quickly blocked RBN because we had the truth that she could not dispute, that she absolutely could not dispute. Like, she's an easy ratio. We ratioed her multiple times. Nope, immediately blocked them.
And just to add one little thing about Anna herself, Anna is an Armenian, and she's been excommunicated from the Armenian church. And why? Because Anna the Armenian is on a show called The Young Turks. So she's seen as a traitor to her own people. This person has no integrity, but let's hear what she has to say.
Yeah. I'll play that beginning part again. We let it play. Once again, we're not going to watch a lot of this. Maybe 4 or 5 minutes. That's as much as I could stomach. Because it's horrible. I didn't plan on covering this. I got a tip from a friend about how TYT, their own audience doesn't buy this shit. That's the only reason why I end up covering this, because it's a feel-good story at the end of the day. Because even their own audience, if you look at the comments, overwhelmingly is calling them out. Overwhelmingly. So, and I'm going to show you guys why.
Yes, of course. The lack of world peace really has everything to do with America, nothing to do with the guy who invaded a sovereign country. But anyway, Tucker Carlson announced 2 days ago that he would be interviewing Vladimir Putin. And today that interview was finally published. We've pulled some clips and we want to discuss it. Now, before we watch, it is important to give you a little bit of context and a note about this 2.5 hour long interview. Nearly half of it is taken up by a monologue by Vladimir Putin. Tucker Carlson opens the interview by asking Putin why he chose to invade Ukraine in 2020.
Pretty important topic, right? Pretty important to go over this issue in great detail instead of just making bullshit electoral politics clips like you guys do on YouTube. Right? Isn't that important? You guys see how they just, and this is what you were talking about earlier, Zoya, the American reaction. And I think this is more like duopoly brain, where they try to demonize like the content. I was deeply entertained listening to the history lecture. Even though I knew a lot of it, but I'm like, it's good to hear from Putin. I'm a friend of history. But you guys see the anti-intellectualism that they try to spread? Oh my God, it's history election. Oh my God, him explaining the context of why this war is going on. But I'll let it continue.
22, that's the sovereign country that I referenced earlier, of course. Putin then spends almost an hour describing his version of the history of Russia.
His version? What? Is she gonna explain what he said that was incorrect? You guys already know the answer to that question. I'll let it continue.
And Ukraine, going back to the Middle Ages. And Tucker Carlson only interrupts him a handful of times as he's engaging in this monologue. Now, Putin eventually comes to an answer that isn't really new. It's more of what we've heard from Putin before. He talks about NATO expansion. Western nations were not so friendly to Russia. And
wait. You say you heard this before, Anna. Why do you guys keep lying then? They keep saying, well, we already heard this before. You guys keep saying that Putin invaded Ukraine for no reason. If you heard what he said in the interview, and you heard what he said in many interviews before this, he gave a pretty textbook reason of why Western aggression and broken promises and NATO expansionism and the rise of Banderite Nazi ideology in Ukraine was the leading factor of this. But when you guys talk about it, you guys act like Putin one day just woke up and snapped. But anyway, let's continue. But this is why this interview wasn't so important, because they can't strawman him no more. And this is why they hate the fact that it happened. But let's continue. Zoe, if you want to interrupt anytime, feel free, though. Feel free. Because I do it all the time.
And too many Nazis in Ukraine, allegedly. That he likes to point to those things. Again, things we've heard before. Go ahead, Cenk.
So before the interview, there was questions about, is he going to be tough on Putin? Really? Does anybody think that he was going to be tough on Putin?
He definitely was adversarial on a few topics. Way more adversarial than the average Zelensky interview. Every time Zelensky is interviewed by a Western reporter, they are licking his boots. Their questions essentially to Zelensky will go something like this. Zelensky, you've been doing such a great job with this war. Why don't people appreciate you more? That's the average question to Zelensky. Where's the complaints about that from the NATO left? You know who constantly does softball interviews? The TYT left. The people who had Marianne Williamson on, and they allowed Marianne Williamson to lie to their audience and say that Marianne Williamson has a chance to win the election. Marianne Williamson got 3% in a state she put a lot of time into. Meanwhile, on Breaking Points, meanwhile on Bree's show, meanwhile on TYT, she go on your guys' show. And she said with a straight face that she's gonna win this election. You guys allow her to do that, but you guys think you can mock someone else for getting softball interviews? I explained this on Thursday. My interpretation of this was Putin was asking probing questions, including questions that challenges Putin's worldview. He challenged Putin on China and got smacked around. Challenged him on the spy that Russia went after, slapped him around. And I'm gonna show you guys Scott Ritter article on that, debunking that here soon. But you guys see the lie that they're spreading that it was a softball interview. Zoya, before I continue, what was your do you think it was softball? You guys can push back on me if you guys want. Like, do you guys disagree with me? Because I thought he pushed back a little bit. I thought it was gonna be softball. Remember on Tuesday, I told you guys, I think it's definitely gonna be a softball. Then I watched, I was like, oh shit, it actually wasn't as softball as I thought it was gonna be, because I'm intellectually honest. I'm willing to admit to you guys when I am not correct. My initial assessment was I thought it was going to be a softball. It was not. That is what honest commentators would do. But anyway, sorry, I meant to ask you a question.
No, I agree with you completely. I think that Tucker was adversarial and even rude at some points. He kept constantly cutting Putin off and not letting Putin formulate his answers, because Americans are used to neat sound bites. They tune out when somebody's explaining something to them with facts and history. So the only critique I would have for Tucker Carlson is that some of his questions were honestly idiotic. The way he was pressuring, for the release of a spy, as if any other country would be like, oh, okay, Carlson, thank you for trying to guilt us into giving you more. And here you go, we'll release a spy. It's outrageous. Tucker was actually out of line many times. And I don't think it was a softball at all. I just think that he could have asked stronger questions.
Here's Scott Ritter. And I'll admit, I haven't really looked into this story that much. You know what I mean? Because I'm not like I never was a big Putin fan supporter. So when I heard that, I was like, oh, maybe fucked him up, maybe not. Maybe it's spy, maybe not. So I'll admit 100%, I never really looked into the story that much. But here's Scott Ritter. I know people like Zoe. I know a lot of people who have reported on this. Here's Scott Ritter opinion on this. Tucker Carlson should have done a better job familiarizing himself with the details surrounding Ivan Gershkovich's arrest on the charges of espionage. Sometimes it turns out a spy is just a spy. And that's what, and Ritter has done fantastic reporting on this. And this is something that Tucker Carlson brought up as a way to challenge him. But how many times have Joe Biden has been interviewed by CNN, MSNBC, and quote unquote credible reporters, journalists, and mainstream establishment mindset, but they never asked Biden about Julian Assange. In my mindset, you should never give an interview with a Democratic elected official without bringing up Julian Assange. That'll show you how deep this. Go ahead, Zoe. Feel free to interrupt.
And Julian Assange was never collecting sensitive data to give to a foreign entity, unlike the spy that's actually in Russian detention right now.
Zoe, do you know the story? Can you once again, this is not that strong.
Yeah.
Educate us on what's the. Go ahead.
So the last tweet I sent you in your DM is going to tell us about who potentially Putin actually wants to swap this guy out for. And the guy, Putin talked about this in his interview. The man that they're holding in Germany was actually a Russian patriot. Let's go ahead.
Of course.
Yes, let's go ahead and read this little summary. In an interview.
There you go.
In an interview, Putin suddenly hinted that the release of American spy Evan Gershkovich is possible if our patriot who killed an Ichkeria terrorist militant in Germany is released. Many did not understand who we were talking about. Vadim Krasikov is an officer of the Russian Special Services sentenced in Germany to life imprisonment. On August 23, 2019, Krasikov rode up behind Zelimkin Kongoshvili on a bicycle, who took part in the Second Chechen War as a field commander. This guy was a war criminal. So Zelimkin shot him in the head. So this Russian Special Services person is being held in Germany for liquidating a war criminal who, as Putin was saying, would line up Russian soldiers and drive over their heads.
Wow. And this is the person that the Western media defends so vigorously. The person that Tucker Carlson is defending as well. Well, I should probably look into this more. That's crazy. That's fucking crazy. Do you know the Biden administration is going after the Uhuru Black Socialist movement? They're trying to prosecute them for being quote unquote foreign agents because they don't have an opinion that align with the Western narrative on Ukraine. They're trying to charge average working class Black people who just organize because they disagree with Ukraine. You guys have no idea how tyrannical the Biden administration has become. So as that is happening, you guys pretending that Putin is more tyrannical for going after this guy? Remember, Biden is the person that Cenk Uygur voted for, and he's going to vote for him again. Cenk Uygur, just like Marianne Williamson, ran a pathetic campaign, and one of the things he was saying is he was trying to make Democrats stronger. He said we need the elections to make Biden a stronger candidate. But he's okay with Biden charging Black socialists, but he's gonna pretend that Tucker gave a softball interview, even though he actually did repeat Western narratives. Let's continue. We don't have that much longer in this. You guys see how desperate they are to lie about this interview. It gets worse. Let's continue.
Hang on. Sorry. Just one more thing.
Feel free. Go ahead.
You know what TYT is never going to do? They are never going to talk about what took place in Yugoslavia when NATO went against their own rules-based order and bombed a sovereign country. They were bombing school buses and children and roads and civilian infrastructure. NATO is a terrorist organization. We have seen this time and time again across the world. What they did in Libya when they first went in, defensive alliance, they bombed one of the most advanced irrigation systems in the world. That was their first target in Libya. These monsters are hurting regular civilians all over the world in order to destabilize so they can come in and rob them. Of course, Putin is a threat to them because Putin just announced that he is willing to offer Iraq aid, military support, in order to get US removed from a sovereign country that no longer wants them. That's why they want Putin out, because Putin presents a threat to their criminal enterprise.
Zoe is love. Zoe is life. Well said. This is a super chat And thank you for reminding me what got me blocked. Because I was blocked from Anna on Twitter a long time ago because I posted a picture with Anna Kasparian and Madeleine Albright together, and it went pretty viral. I think maybe a few thousand likes on it. And then Anna immediately blocked me after that. I didn't even tag her. I just posted a picture with a comment about it because she was trending at the time. Then, like not too long afterwards, I was blocked from Anna and TYT. So thank you, 007 Angelo, for reminding me what got me blocked from Anna and TYT. You can search my tweets and you can find exactly what got me blocked. Search Anna and Madeleine Albright. You probably find the picture I posted. So as she criticized Tucker for giving a softball interview to Putin, which he did not do, she had a war criminal, Madeleine Albright, you know, the person who said it was worth sanctioning and starving 500,000 Iraqi children. She said that was worth it. She doesn't regret that at all. But Anna Kasparian respects her as a female leader. That's the end game for white liberal feminism. When you have Anna Kasparian, a white liberal feminist, who looks up to Madeleine Albright, who's okay with starving Iraqi children, among many other crimes. But let's continue this. Oh, man. I'm glad I got Zoya here with me because this TYT segment is very stressful. Very stressful. Let's continue.
Does anybody think that he was going to be tough on Putin? But I think you have your answer when you don't interrupt someone for over an hour as they're giving you propaganda. I mean, even if you don't think it's propaganda, you might want to ask a follow-up question. You might want to interject. You might want to challenge something he said within that hour. If he didn't challenge him for an entire hour, what you thought everything he said there was so true, you didn't have to clarify with the audience that perhaps it wasn't. And so, and then you saw in that just small clip that we showed you, you know, the American government seems so dead set against you. Is that the real problem? Like we're biased against him. Well, our bias might come from the fact that he invaded Ukraine, but look, we've got our own problems.
Cenk Uygur is so delusional, my friends. This man, Cenk Uygur, one of the dumbest motherfuckers in politics who lost every single debate he has ever had. Name one time Cenk Uygur ever had a debate and motherfuckers was like, Cenk Uygur is killing it. Not one time. He was absolutely dismantled by Brianna Joy Gray. That comes to mind immediately. Cenk Uygur, he is so bad at politics, he loses to right-wingers. Like, he will get shit on by like the Ben Shapiro's every once in a while. That's how bad he is. So despite how dumb Cenk Uygur is, Cenk Uygur believed that he can square up with Vladimir Putin in the intellectual ring. He believes that if he had an interview with Putin and Putin was explaining the history of why he invaded Ukraine, then Cenk Uygur will be like, hey, Putin, why do you think you can invade a sovereign country? And he thinks that Putin will be stumped by that question. Boy, Putin would eat you up alive, fam. I mean, can you imagine, Zoya, if Cenk Uygur were interviewing Putin, he tried to put back on the Ukraine? Well, sir, don't you know Ukraine is a sovereign democracy? Putin would eat this clown alive, and it's very adorable that Cenk Uygur think he could hang with Putin, or anyone of intellectual capacity, that is. But let's continue. Feel free to interrupt, Zoya, if you want to chime in, but let's continue.
And I'm perfectly happy to discuss them. In fact, we discussed them for 20 straight years here on TYT, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
But sit next to a guy who's trying to be an imperial, recreate an imperial empire that has invaded several countries.
He literally said in the interview that is not his intention. They still, Cenk Uygur is one of the deeply unserious people who's pushing this lie that if Ukraine doesn't defeat Russia, he's gonna expand return the Soviet Union, return the Russian Empire. That's what he's hinting at, Zoya. That's what he's hinting at, friends and family. The most deeply unserious people in politics. So do you listen to the interview? Or are you purposely lying? Go ahead, Zoya.
Can you believe we're doing the Red Scare in 2024?
Unbelievable.
The Cold War was supposed to end. I mean, Putin, was saying to Tucker, we're bourgeoisie now. We turned capitalist. Like, what else do you want? Where they're trying to establish normal economic relations while America's still fear-mongering because they need to scare you. They need to make you believe that these countries are enemies, including China, so that you don't ever ask why we're spending so much money on the military that we can always find and always print, but yet you don't have health care. and you don't have basic benefits that these countries do.
Wasn't Iraq a sovereign country when we invaded it? Absolutely. The United States does not have the moral high ground to play policeman. Great comment by our friend Dana Fairbanks. Also, Cenk Uygur supported United States intervention into Syria because he lied about the gas attacks, because he also has Assad derangement syndrome, by the way, as well. He has Putin derangement syndrome. I don't know his position on China, to be honest. I don't follow him that much, but I can only assume he probably got Xi Jinping derangement syndrome. I bet you he does. I'm not going to say for sure because I haven't looked into it. But that was one of the things when I was navigating the independent media sphere as my time, as a worker who listened to a lot of independent media at the time. I'm like, yeah. So as I saw him push like the Syria gas attack thing, and him and Jimmy Dore, that would lead to the split because Jimmy Dore and Cenk used to have like screaming like arguments about Syria, and Cenk was repeating CIA propaganda that Assad, who was winning his war with gases on people. Aaron Mate utterly destroyed him to the point where he got multiple awards in journalism because he dismantled the lie about the Syrian gas attacks. Cenk Uygur, to this day, will never admit that he was wrong about Syria. So Cenk Uygur, the hypocrite, he criticized Putin for quote-unquote invading a sovereign country, but you was okay with U.S. intervention into Syria, sir. Do you guys see how unserious the NATO left is? But let's continue. We only have a few more minutes because I rage quit around like 4 minutes. That's why I rage quit when I was scouting this video out. So we about a minute before I quit. So let's see how long we can make it. I'm gonna cover the Biden press conference as well. Let's see what's else in my notes. You got Hillary Clinton that was interrupted. So I got 2 more segments after this. So we're not gonna spend too much time on this, but I'm gonna get you guys to the point where I at least rage quit. I think I rage quit like 4:15. It was around the time. All right, done. Can't do it no more. But let's continue.
He's next to him and has started this disastrous war, trying to make him out to be like the peacemaker. Wouldn't you love to align with America? Well, don't you want a one world together? It's Biden that's stopping you right now. If we had a different president, maybe named Donald Trump, then we could have world peace, couldn't we? This seems like such a great.
Why do you gotta do a bit about what he said instead of playing what he said? And you know what we're doing right now? I'm not straw manning TYT right now. I am playing what they're saying, and we are laughing at them as a family. I see the comments. We are laughing at these buffoons, but you guys see how he has to straw man him. Where did Tucker bring up Trump? In the clip that I seen about this question, like. He has to create this completely false narrative about what was talked about. In the interview, Tucker was trying to convince Putin that China was bad. So what are you talking about? This is a straight up line to your audience. You're misrepresenting the interview. And once again, if you guys feel a little bit better about this, his audience knows. And they get destroyed in the comments, my friends. Because even TYT viewers are not fooled by this, because the reason why I said this interview is so giant, because even the people who had misconceptions about Putin, the average person see Putin speaking and like, man, he is not the maniac that Cenk Uygur told me he was. Imagine you subscribe to TYT for 7, 8, 9 years, whatever. This motherfucker been paying Putin as the biggest devil in the world, as he support people who fund and enable genocide. I cut my rant short. Let's continue the video.
Piece of journalism. Come on, he's a joke.
Now, obviously, just based on what we saw in that first clip, Tucker Carlson is trying to make a point about Donald Trump versus.
You guys know that first clip they cut off before Putin starts speaking? I don't know if you guys remember it, but that's what they did. Is that an accident? I don't think it is. Let's continue with the Karen here. I'm sorry to interrupt you so fast. I'll let it continue.
Obviously, just based on what we saw in that first clip, Tucker Carlson is trying to make a point about Donald Trump versus Joe Biden and other American, political leadership that's been less friendly, at least rhetorically, toward Vladimir Putin. So let's continue on with that portion of their interview, that portion of their conversation. So let's watch more of it.
It is not about the leader. It is not about the personality of a particular person. I had a very good relationship with, say, Bush. I know that in the United States, He was portrayed as some kind of a country boy who does not understand much. I assure you that this is not the case. I had such personal relationship with Trump as well. It is not about the personality of the leader. It is about the elite's mindset. If the idea of domination at any cost, based also on forceful actions, dominates the American society, nothing will change.
Can we really trust a man who talks of the intellectual sophistication of George W. Bush? I don't know.
Do you guys see the childlike view of politics that they have? Why should we and Americans, why should the question be about us trusting Putin? We don't have to trust Putin. We should have the will to cooperate with Putin. Why should we be escalating war with Putin? Why are we demonizing Putin? You guys see the childlike way they view politics? Your opinion about whether you trust Putin or not is irrelevant. You want to know why? Because you don't pay fucking taxes in Russia. That's not your goddamn country. You want to know who you should be holding accountable? Jim Crow Joe, Genocide Joe. The question you guys should be asking is, why do you trust Biden? Why do you trust the United States? Cenk Uygur, why do you trust the intelligence that told you about the Syrian gas attacks? You guys see how they want people to be distrustful and hateful of other countries? Meanwhile, they don't question their own government with this kind of disdain. To me, there's nothing more cowardly. The height of cowardice is people who spend all their time demonizing other countries, but they're too cowardly to hold their country accountable because they know it comes with social pressure. The people who do that are the biggest cowards. You guys notice I hold my government accountable. I hold the United States accountable. I hold the people who have civil asset forfeiture accountable. I hold the country accountable that killed 2.5 million people in Iraq, that destabilized the Middle East, that destroyed Vietnam, killed millions of people in Korea, that bombed Cambodia to the Stone Age. This is the government that we hold accountable. The biggest cowards are the bourgeoisie capitalists like TYT that want you to hate the other. Zoya, I know you want to chime in. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're on fire. She's also creating a false correlation between competence and intentions. Putin never spoke about Bush's record or agreed with all of his actions, and quite the opposite is true. But she's trying to say because he simply indicated that a leader was competent in his job, that it implies something else when it doesn't. All these people can do is try to manufacture a narrative out of thin air.
Yeah, we play one more clip and we get the super chats we do and we get to the next segment. Because this is the point where I quit. You guys know how. I think it was just I said 4:15. You guys know this. That what triggered my rant. I think this point where I was like, oh fuck this month. I'm tired of this shit. So I want to do one more clip because I think we get into the point where I haven't seen yet. So we get into uncharted territories. I think
nothing will change.
Can we really trust a man who talks of the intellectual sophistication of George W. Bush? I don't know. I mean, that's, I guess, for you to decide.
Yeah, so I remember when Republicans in America used to be furious with actual journalists like Barbara Walters when they interviewed people who were not friendly to America. So she interviewed Fidel Castro and they're like, how dare you? We should never even hear from them. In fact, we found out recently from an interview at the Guardian that CNN says you should not even interview members of Hamas, so for fear that propaganda is going to leak out, etc. So now, what should be the real standard? The real standard is, of course, you interview foreign leaders, whether we like them or don't like them. But as you do that, you're supposed to challenge them with
he did.
Questions, not arguments, not debates, but hey, how about this? How about the fact that Ukraine appeared to be a sovereign nation before you invaded it, right? Things along those lines.
Hold up. He really did that. Remember the bit I did earlier? So wait, hold up. So Cenk Uygur, his criticism, that's a great way to end it. His criticism of Tucker Carlson didn't bring up the fact that Ukraine was a sovereign nation. Do you guys understand how easily Putin would slap that question down, fam? Oh, Jesus Christ. Oh, Jesus Christ. I want to see Cenk Uygur interview Putin. I want to see it happen because Cenk Uygur he's going to go into that interview being hostile and he's going to ask Putin, why you invade Ukraine? Putin going to explain history. And he'll be like, well, isn't Ukraine a sovereign country? And Putin going to be like, do you guys understand how easily that Putin's going to slap that down? Oh my God, that interview will go way worse than I thought it would.
The audacity of Cenk to say this while U.S. forces are involved in at least 23 proxy wars across the world. Can we trust Putin? Can Putin trust NATO, who said they're not going to expand an inch eastward? They're just reversing everything to try to vilify someone who brought the facts to the table, facts that can be verified by Western sources. All Americans have to do after watching the interview is look things up for themselves.
When you have Victoria Nuland, I think this is it, picking the leader of Ukraine, how can you call them a sovereign country? I think this is it. Ukraine crisis. Transcript of leaked Nuland Pyatt call. You know, it's a date here. This is back when they was allowed to report on this, Zoya. They forgot to delete this from the archive. I've been waiting how long it'd take for them to go back and scrub some of these articles. February 2014. This was a big political scandal, completely erased from mainstream history. Victoria Nuland selecting the leader of Ukraine, but they think Ukraine is a sovereign country. They think Ukraine is a sovereign country when a democratically elected leader was overthrown in an illegal coup, which led to Eastern Ukraine and area in the Donbass wanting to leave and have their own independence because they wanted to reject the anti-democracy fascist Ukraine government. That was made up of people who overthrew a democratically elected government. And this is where the rise of violence in Ukraine started in 2014, where not only do you have the bandwagon that shelled and bombed people in Eastern Ukraine, but what a lot of people don't talk about is the political intimidation. Like whenever people was questioning the fascist Ukrainian regime, whenever people spoke out against the NATO expansion agenda, they were met with political violence because they're Nazis. That is what Nazis do. So how can you say this country is sovereign? Only if you're deeply unserious. Well, let's get to some super chats, and we can do the Biden story next because that's funny. I want to at least make sure I get into that one. So let's read. Let me take this out. We have a few here, so it shouldn't take too long. Thank you for the $5. Otto Carnage, FYI, Robert Kraft, the Patriot owner, is paying $7 million for pro-Israel ad during the Super Bowl. People have no idea how much our society has been infiltrated by Zionism. Why America and America as a whole are cucks to allow Israel to do what they have done. The mainstream story now see like what's his name? God Saad. He came out and said, "Yeah, I'm a Mossad agent." you know the influencer that a lot of the right wing has been listening to for a very long time. He just openly came out and said, "Yeah, I'm a Mossad agent." We have Mossad agents all over our government, all over Hollywood. They're doing propaganda. They are the capitalist class, the capitalist class that took over democracy and robbed you guys of your free speech. The national security threat. That is Zionism that infiltrated our government. The right wing has pretended that purple-haired, misguided college children was the biggest threat to free speech. You have Zionists that are running a campaign where they're trying to get everyone they can fired for their jobs because they're speaking out against the Gaza campaign, the genocide in Gaza. I know multiple people who lost their jobs. I can't say I can't say the name on stream. I know someone who, I know people in the professional managerial class that are getting canceled left and right. Meanwhile, white America is 100% okay with this fucking takeover of our government. Y'all think I'm gonna hold my tongue and see it with what's going on here? People are losing their job. Thank God I'm a citizen journalist. Thank God I work for myself. You guys know how long ago I would have been fired if I sold cars? They'd be like, hey, Toyota. Hey, Hyundai. Hey, look at it. Look at this shit Nick said about Gaza. Nick is speaking out against a genocide. I would have been fired 3 years ago. I'm unemployable. And if I can't do this shit, I'm fucked. I have been unemployable for a long time because our system has been hijacked by Zionists. But white America, 100% okay with it. Nigga, we need more money to the border. Let's talk about social justice issues. Let's talk about culture wars. Oh my God, the immigrants are they invading our country. They talking about immigrants invading our country as Zionists are taking over. Zionists completely hijacked this motherfucking shit. They talking about other nonsense. Thank you for the super chat. Thank you for 1999, Samuel. The education you guys drop on a daily basis across all of our being is much appreciated. That Ukraine name breakdown is mind-blowing. Thank Zoe. You guys don't understand how powerful Zoe is. You guys have no idea. What was that tweet? I just tweeted about it. So here, I'm not doing a segment on it. I didn't plan to because I'm like, I don't really care about this guy. I am aware of him though, because he's like a big culture warrior. They're typo there. What's his name? Gassad. This is going viral, by the way. Gassad admits to being a Mossad agent. You guys see this 10 minutes. I'm not going to show you this. Actually, fuck it. Could they get right there? I'm going to show you guys like 30 seconds.
So I kind of couldn't believe it in the book. You let the cat out of the bag. You're actually a Mossad agent.
Oh, you are the first person on my media tour to actually either have read that far into the book or to mention it. I thought it would be the top story in every show.
Zoya, they just talking about it out in the open. Yeah, I'm a Mossad agent, very influential social media influencer in the West.
Stuff, and most people...
This is a Mossad agent just casually doing Mossad shit, and he's known as being this very Islamophobic person who extremely pro-Israel. I remember he had all these unhinged tweets on October 7th where he's like, man, I thought all these people I thought was friends, they're now showing us how they're anti-Semitic. Oh my God, there's a rise of anti-Semitism in this country and in the West. This is the same guy, because once again, I know who this guy is. He's been on a campaign against quote unquote social justice warriors for years now. That's what he's known for. He's the intellectual who's speaking out against how the left has gone too far. Which once again, some of his criticism I agree with sometimes, but his criticism is there's too much focus on racism. You guys keep talking about racism and social justice issues. You guys know it's those same right-wingers who made their career off of that criticism is now using identity politics for Zionism. The same people that say, oh, how dare you point out the fact that racism is this? They say, oh my God, there's a rise of anti-Semitism. How are people not connecting these dots and how these people are just blatant hypocrites? Anyway, let me move on. I didn't want to do a segment on this. I just want to make my point on that super chat.
And I can tie it right back into the Putin interview, because Putin kept skillfully pointing out who's really in charge, because anybody that's trusting their eyes and ears can see that Biden can't be in charge of his own breakfast, let alone running a country. So who is actually pulling the levers? And Putin was warning gently about all of these agencies that work in the background. And Mossad is a perfect example of one of them, who are pulling the strings on all of these geopolitical crimes.
And if you point this out back in the day, the fact that Zionism has infiltrated our society, they'd be like, oh, that's an anti-Semitic conspiracy theory. Are you saying that Jews control the world? Like, we're saying Zionists have infiltrated the West, which is undisputably true. And now I came to the realization that the people who were saying that, that's where that conspiracy came from. Because I remember hearing that growing up, because they're like, white supremacists say that Jews taking over the world. That's Mossad bullshit. And we showed you guys the Mossad agent that said they created the anti-Semitism psyop. Now in hindsight, I'm like, man, that was the argument. The argument that Mossad infiltrated our government, they infiltrated the United States, and look at everyone in the Senate that straight up has dual Israeli citizenship. Look at Chuck Schumer, the leader of the Senate. He has more loyalty to Israel than us. Nancy Pelosi says if anything gonna burn, if any domestic policy agenda gonna fail, if Congress was up in flames, they'll still make sure they take care of Israel. And they say this out in the open. The idea that if you point this out that you're anti-Semitic, that was one of the most successful, and to be quite frank, successful and intelligent psyops that they pulled off. It was very successful. I'm just glad that the mask is off. You guys think that these genocidal maniacs calling me anti-Semitic, a black man in America, you guys think that fucking fazed me at all? if you're not being called anti-Semitic by these Zionist Mossad scum, you're doing something wrong.
And let's also remember that there's plenty of Zionists that aren't even Jewish. The evangelicals who want to see the end times go down, who could care less about Jews, and actually in their plan, all the Jews are supposed to die. They're huge supporters and funders of Israel. Zionism and Judaism is not the same thing. Being anti-Zionist does not make you anti-Semitic, and there's no larger threat to Jewish safety than Zionism.
Well said, my friend. As always, Zoe is love, Zoe is life. I'll read two more super chats after this one, and then I'll move on to the Biden story, which may be the last story today. Oh yeah, we got to cover Zelensky as well. Let's see what we can do. Name for $5, Tony. 100 milligrams of nicotine on a Saturday morning. Too powerful, my friend. Thank for $2. Actually, I seen this one before. I saw it when it came. Thank for the 199 Ozzy. Had a coffee on me. So this will be the last one I read. Thank for the $5 Edward. Has anyone checked in on Cenk running for how's he doing in the post? I don't know if you guys seen. You guys haven't, because who gives a fuck? But I did. I saw with Cenk Uygur, he gave this interview where he's like, guys, I'm gonna announce my presidency in a few months. I'll be around 20% in the polls. And then we can get concessions from Biden. That's what he said. He said the plan is to run in the election, get 20% in the polls. This delusional moron thought he was going to get 20% in the polls. He got 5th place in his own district. He thought he was going to get 20% running against the incumbent. Marianne Williamson got 3%. I don't know where he was. He was off the blimp. 0.5% maybe. Do you guys know something I don't know? Anyway, let's continue this. Let's get to the next story.
Someone should do a poll of whether they want to see Cenk or Putin for president, and I bet you Putin will kick his ass.
Oh my God, he would destroy him. Oh my God, he would destroy him. Oh my God. Might be a little bit longer episode than normal. May go slightly past 90 minutes. We see. I definitely want to do this Biden story. You guys know how it is. We got Zoya's love, Zoya's life. Zoya's too powerful. One more thing I want to plug before I get to this new story, because I haven't plugged this enough. If you guys want to get these shirts, like this is a shirt I'm extremely proud of. Probably wear this stuff a little bit too much. Proud about what we build here at RBN. Big shout out to Aaron, who will be back here very soon. If you guys want to support us, one way you can do it is supporting us on Patreon. I appreciate the super chats as well. That's another great way to support us. If you want to get RBN merch, I got the link to this in the description. You guys see my red hoodie. I need to get some more of myself. I need to get one of these longer sleeve shirts. Summer is upon us, so we gotta get ripped out here. Get the tank top, completely unserious. Oh, I need to get one of these. It's a crime against humanity that I don't got this fucking shirt. The completely unserious shirt. It's a crime against humanity. I don't got that. I'll order it next time I get paid. It's a crime against humanity. I don't have that. Anyway, thank you guys for the support. Let's move on to the next story. Let's get into the Biden press conference and the special counsel. And the way the corporate media has been lying about this story is very, very, very telling. They keep pretending that Biden's been exonerated. That is absolutely not what happened. In that report, they said Biden willfully held secret classified documents, and they explain why they did. I'm gonna get to this later, because Biden has this view of himself as a historical figure, which he is. He's a president. So because of that, he wants to take all these documents for personal reasons. So when he filed these reports, you got to explain motive. His motive that they got was he wanted to maintain records of himself. He had all these pictures of himself. It's something that he always done. He took classified documents willfully, which is illegal. Which, if you was an average government worker, your ass would be in prison for. The same thing that they got Donald Trump for. So they didn't charge Joe Biden because he was mentally unfit. Because when you have a dementia-ridden senior citizen who can't recall the crime that he did, it won't be effective to prosecute him, because he will show himself to be a feeble old man to the jury who is not liable to the crime that he committed. So what the special counsel, what he was saying is, because he had to make this report explain to Republicans why he's not charging him. Because if he don't explain why, the Republicans will be upset and they're going to have his head. So he's playing a report like, God, you guys are going to be upset that I'm not charging Biden, because even though we charged Trump with this crime. But the reason why we're not charging Biden with this crime, but we're charging Trump with this crime, because Biden is not liable, because he's so fucking demented and senile. He don't even remember when he was vice president. He don't remember anything about what happened with these documents. And he's so old and senile that he believes it. That's the point of this report. So Biden and his allies, in result of that, has been in shambles and purposely lying about this. And I could have picked 1,000 stories to show you guys, but I'm going to pick someone who I believe is an effective Democratic propagandist, Joanne Reed. But before I look at this headline, how Biden and his allies are pushing back against a special counsel's claim about his memory. Now, this is a scathing report, because one of the leading things that people are criticizing Biden over is his mental acuity, not his age, because Trump is only 3 years younger than him. So it's about mental acuity, because obviously we are looking at a dementia-riddled old man who doesn't even remember he was vice president. So this is horrible for Democrats politically. I seen one person who was talking about this who said it'll be better off if Biden got prosecuted than this. Then they can just focus on the differences between Biden and Trump. And they do this very ineffective talking point where they said, well, unlike Trump, at least we complied. Trump didn't comply with the law. That doesn't mean shit. I murdered someone. Zoya murdered someone. And then I'm like, I complied though. Zoya didn't comply. You can't charge me with murder because I complied. The fact that Zoya didn't comply had nothing to do with the fact that I committed murder. But that's the argument that they use. They said, well, technically the difference is that we complied. Trump did it. It's absurd. They are grasping at straws. And I want to show you guys this video so you guys can see how the corporate media is just outright lying about this, because you guys see my hotspot video while I cover the press conference. And I'm going to show you guys a little bit more of this, because that press conference couldn't have went worse for Joe Biden. It couldn't have went worse, because his job was to go out there and forcibly rebuke the claims of the special counsel, and he immediately got the Egyptian president and the Mexican president mixed up. And then he came across as an angry old man lashing out against reporters, calling them essentially fake news for reporting on this. And I'm gonna show you guys clips of that. You guys seen it in the hotspot video in the intro. Essentially doing the same thing as Donald Trump. So the point we make all the time in RB, and this is why I choose to cover this, because we have fun sometimes, but you guys know I cover everything for a reason. One of the reasons why I'm covering this, because the point that we make that Cenk Uygur and the NATO left don't understand, the Bernie Sanders left don't understand, is that you can have Trump derangement syndrome all you like. To me, I think it's rational to hate the ruling class no matter what side it's on. But to have Trump derangement syndrome without having Biden derangement syndrome, Democrat derangement syndrome, makes no sense. Red MAGA is exactly the same as blue MAGA. Remember how Trump got caught with classified documents and then Trump immediately attacked the prosecutor? And he attacked the process? And then they said Trump is a danger to our democracy because Trump is attacking the special counsel. Trump is attacking the legal process. And then the legal process go after Biden for the same thing. And you're going to watch the media, and it's just one of many. They do the same thing they accuse MAGA of doing that made him so dangerous to democracy. So we don't pick one side. We are the post-duopoly left. We are here to show you guys why both of them are two sides of the same coin. Let's see how much we can stomach of this.
Tonight with special counsel Robert Hur's report about President Biden's mishandling of classified documents. Having had a day to digest the nearly 400-page report, I can comfortably say that this is one of the most nonsensical, absurd, and outrageous documents I have seen since then FBI Director James Comey's hit job on Hillary Clinton.
Once again, I picked this one for a reason. I watched so many of these segments, fam, preparing this for you guys. That's the line. And that anger you hear from Joanne Reed, she's in complete shambles. Biden propagandists are in complete shambles because this report exposes what everyone been saying, what they've been trying to deny that Biden committed the same crimes that they wanted Trump lynched for. Not only that, it comes out that all the aid concerns, the concern about his mental acuity is well-founded. This is the doomsday scenario for Democrats, fam. That's why they are in fucking shambles. And wait till you see how Zoya and Reed continue this. Feel free to interrupt anytime, Zoya, if you have anything you want to add. I'll just try to get through this as fast as I can. But feel free to interrupt anytime you want to.
And her email server 11 days before Election Day in 2016. In both cases, the conclusion of the prosecutors was the same. No charges were deemed warranted and no crimes committed. But that didn't stop.
Oh, I can't make it 10 seconds in this motherfucker. I'll let it go a little bit longer after this, but I just want to let you guys know that's a blatant lie. In the report, they said that Biden willfully retained classified documents and information, which is a crime that will get any person in federal government locked up. The reason why they didn't charge him for a crime is because they said he is so old, he's so senile, he does not have memory of committing the crime. They did not say he did not commit a crime. You cannot classify what you said as anything else other than a rank lie. But I'll let it play a little more. It's hard, but I'll let it play. We're not going to be too long on this.
For Election Day in 2016. In both cases, the conclusion of the prosecutors was the same. No charges were deemed warranted and no crimes committed. But that didn't stop either Comey or her from ladling on superfluous political and personal attacks on what was supposed to be a simple, fact-based report answering just one question. Is the Justice Department going to indict? That's it. That's all the public wanted or needed to know.
So Joy-Ann Reid is smart. She knows better than this. She knows she's lying. So she just said the point of this special counsel is to explain whether they're going to indict or not. So if they do not indict, which they are not, the special counsel has to explain why they're not indicting. So that's why they get into his mental acuity. They get into the point explaining how Biden views himself as a historical figure and he likes to keep record. They explained it not as a personal attack, but they explained that to lay out a motive. This is why Biden did it, and this is why we're not charging him. But Joy-Ann Reid is purposely misleading her audience about this. And Joe Biden in the press conference, we'll get to this very soon, does the same thing. You know what they accuse Trump of doing? Lying about his criminal prosecutions. That is what Biden and his entire media apparatus is doing as well. But they view Tucker Carlson as dishonest. They just pretended that Tucker Carlson is not a journalist. He's uniquely evil because he's dishonest. But Joy-Ann Reid is cutting a segment where I can't get even a minute into it because I got to explain every single fucking lie she's throwing to the audience. I'm gonna play just a little bit more of this. Zoe, anything you want to add on? I'm sorry not getting you in here, but anything you want to add to the story?
Well, just observing the liberal reaction online, I don't know if it's a psyop or organic because it's just too wild to be real, but they're actually celebrating this as a victory. And I just want to say, if your president is too senile to stand trial, that is not a win. You're an embarrassment on the world stage. The guy with the nuclear codes wanders off stage looking for corn pop. Let's be real. Your president is incompetent and America has become a joke. But this exposes a very important thing, that our presidents are not running the country. And it should make every American question, who is?
I'll play a little bit more of the Joy-Ann Reid clip to show you guys how much she lies. In the Biden press conference, I cannot stress enough how much of a disaster it is. Once again, check out my hotspot video about it. While explaining it with humor as well. But it was so bad. You guys realize that liberal media is turning against them? That's why Biden faced tough questions at the press conference, because they're like, hey, man, what the fuck? You making us look bad. Joy-Ann Reid don't have that kind of shame. I'm going to show you guys a CNN segment where they are brutally fact-checking Joe Biden, something we have not seen him do in the entire administration, because his lie during the press conference was so bad, it was very, very Trumpian. The same thing they accused Trump of doing, of just lying about his charges. But let me continue this because I want to show you guys the lies that come from Biden media. Let's get into it.
Fact-based report answering just one question. Is the Justice Department going to indict? That's it. That's all the public wanted or needed to know. Instead, her begins what can only be described as a political diatribe designed for Fox News like a script for the Five on the very first page, appearing.
You guys realize that's the same thing that Republicans say about the Trump prosecutions, that they're just here for MSNBC, CNN, New York Times headlines. Blue MAGA is the same as red MAGA. Every argument that she's using is MAGA arguments. But let's continue.
To call out Biden as an egotist by writing, quote, Mr. Biden has long seen himself as a historic figure. Well, yeah, man, he probably does see himself as an historic figure. Joe Biden is a president of the United States.
Bro, look how mad she is. I explained before. The reason why he said that, by the way, he never used the word egotist. She did that. She's explaining the special counsel has to explain the motive. They're explaining the motive on why Biden took classified documents. You know what a special counsel fucking does? But you guys see how Joy-Ann Reid twists that and said he went on a political diatribe, personally attacking Joe Biden as an egotist. That is not what happened. He's explaining why Biden took documents because he viewed himself as a historical figure, which once again, he is. He is one. But because of that, that's why he did this illegal criminal behavior. But you guys see how she's trying to paint that as political? I'll let it continue. We're not going to be too much longer on this video.
46 people in all of America's 248-year history who've served in that role. And not for nothing, he was the vice president to the first Black president in U.S. history. So that kind of makes him an historic figure, don't you think, Mr. Hur? And then on page six, Hur claims that a reason that he wouldn't bring charges against the president for whom he found no crime was that Biden is an elderly man with a poor memory, going as far as to say his memory was so poor that Biden couldn't even remember when his son Beau died, despite the untimely death of Beau Biden from cancer being a thing Joe Biden talks about literally all the time. Last night.
So don't you think pointing out the fact that they're not charging him for his memory is not relevant? I just explained this. Since they're not charging Biden with this crime that they say they're guilty of, they have to explain why. They're not bringing up Biden's mental acuity to attack him. It's his job to explain to the Republicans why he is not being prosecuted. And he is saying they're not being prosecuted because he's too old and dementia to remember the crime that he committed. When they had these interviews, Biden was pretending, I don't remember this, I don't remember that. So he's like, this is the only conclusion we can come to. When asked questions, he don't remember where he's vice president. And yes, Biden's talked about his dead son before. But just because someone remembers something in the past, don't mean they forget it when they get dementia. I know people in my family that had dementia. Before they had dementia, they remember shit. After they had dementia, they forget shit. Joy, that's how dementia works, ma'am.
But she knows. We know she knows. She got caught on a hot mic saying another fucking war. Yep. So in reality, real Joy knows what's up. Real Joy knows Biden's a warmonger. But this is her job. She gets paid to lie to the American public and manufacture this narrative that, like, Biden's running for Grandpa of the Year, sympathetic, kind, old man. This man has the nuclear codes. The fact that he's still in the White House is just a detriment to the country. And the fact that they prop him up makes them accomplices.
Should I play more for y'all? Play more for Meltdown. And fam, Chris Hayes has a segment that was exactly like this. So I know we're making fun of Joy-Ann Reid because I do think she's a more effective Democratic propagandist. And when I say that, that's not me giving her credit. Because among the propagandist class, she's there for a reason. You know what I mean? She's here to do this propaganda, and because she has no soul, that's why she's able to say Biden's starting another fucking war. She's able to do this stuff by completely separating her feelings from politics. Like Van Jones, I seen a clip from Van Jones in the 90s that blew my fucking mind, bro. Like he was like a radical. Like an RBN style radical, but then these people sell out to the point where they don't care about their personal opinions. They completely sacrifice their soul the way that most ordinary people, I don't think they can, man. And there's a reason why they're there. And this Meltdown shows exactly how Joy-Ann Reid don't care about facts. She don't care about if she looks like an asshole. She's just going to take that check and she's going to do the bidding of the establishment without question. Because I'm not even 2 minutes into this, but I have completely and utterly dismantled every single point she has made. And I am without a doubt not as smart as Joy-Ann Reid. She is way more educated than I am. I don't know her education. I am a college dropout. You guys think that she don't have the critical thinking that I have? She is doing this on purpose. That'd be my last clip and now move on. I just want to show you guys how much she lies. I picked this one for a reason, but this was standard across MSNBC the entirety of yesterday. So let's continue.
Beau died, despite the untimely death of Beau Biden from cancer being a thing Joe Biden talks about literally all the time. Last night, Biden did not hold back in his response.
I was very honored as a man. Viktor Orban. Did anyone ever hear of him? He's the leader of, right? He's the leader of Turkey. By the way, they never.
We can stop it here. We can stop it here because essentially what she does here is butt Trump. and every single MSNBC segment had the same script, bro. And people did not state media. They will do the same intro, talk about how dare you attack the president? How dare you do your job? Then they go to Trump like, why aren't you guys calling out Trump for his mental acuity? You guys wouldn't want that, fam, because if they did, they wouldn't charge Trump with a crime because they would say he's too old and dementia, which undermines the fact that you're trying to throw this man in jail. Why would you even want that? But even way, let's move on. I already explained how she lied and misrepresented the case in the most malicious way possible. With the only conclusion you come to is the fact that she's a blatant liar. And maybe I should rephrase that because, as I mentioned earlier before, there's a segment with Chris Hayes that said the same thing. Lawrence O'Donnell. Oh God, you guys should see the Morning Joe segment on this. I didn't do that one because I wanted to give you guys a break from Morning Joe. I wanted to change the variety up. Morning Joe had the same segment. So actually, I don't want to personalize it. I don't want to make it about Joanne Reed. That's actually kind of a mistake. It's the message of the establishment. They are all given the same script, and not a Joanne Reed thing. It's an MSNBC thing. They are so they have relegated themselves as just rank dishonest propagandists from one party. And these are the same people that were just attacking Tucker Carlson and saying he's not a journalist. But anyway, Zoya, anything you want to add before I move on? Any last thoughts, or you can pass it to me? I want to get to the fact check. Anything else you want to add though?
Yeah, first of all, the chat is really upset with you, saying that Joy is smarter than you. And everyone is saying that you're definitely smarter, and I would have to agree. Repeating things off a teleprompter is not a high-level skill, and your intelligence in breaking things down and seeing through things will always outshine some Joy.
Oh, you guys about to make me blush, man. What I mean is there's no doubt that they're intelligent. It's an active choice that they're making to sell out. But I appreciate you guys. You make me blush. You guys know that when men are complimented, we remember that shit forever. We get a few compliments a year. We get a compliment and we remember that shit for 5 or 6. We'll hold on to that shit forever. So thank you guys. Anyway, let's move on. But my point is, these people are smart. And like, I don't think, like, you guys know, like George W. Bush faked his Texas accent, by the way. Like he used to talk completely different. He was like, did he go to Yale? Someone fact check me. I don't remember which one he went to. To me, they're all the same. He went to some fucking Ivy League school. He ran to become a Texas governor. All of a sudden, he started talking like a Southern hick or whatever. Hillary Clinton like completely made up her Southern accent. The point is that people are smart. They just choose to be evil. And that's the conclusion I come to for a very long time. But anyway, let's get to this the CNN video, because the Biden administration has been so crazy that even CNN couldn't sleep on this shit. Like, anyone who's not shameless MSNBC hacks, they have to call out the fact that Biden gave a performance that is easily as bad as anything that Trump has done. Easily. So I think the video speaks for itself. And not only do they fact check the Biden administration, they also fact check Joanne Reed. And you guys are gonna see how badly Joanne Reed, Chris Hayes, and every single person at MSNBC and some CNN hosts did as well. So
one thing that President Biden said is basically that he stored the documents in filing cabinets that could be locked. Let's listen.
All the stuff that was in my home was in filing cabinets that were either locked or able to be locked.
Daniel?
Just not true, John. This report from the special counsel includes photos. Those photos include shots of a box just sitting in President Biden's Delaware garage. The special counsel described it as a badly damaged box sitting amid household detritus. So there was some material that was in cabinets, locked or lockable, as the president said, but all of it certainly not. And that open, unsealed, damaged box included, according to the special counsel, highly sensitive, top secret material about the war in Afghanistan.
Okay, another claim.
This segment was so funny to me because you can see the disappointment in CNN. Like Sunny liberals, like, oh my God, you guys are making you're making our job so fucking hard. All right, let's get these motherfuckers. I seen someone have a theory that said the reason why journalists are going after the Biden administration so hard at the press conference and now doing these fact checks is that they want him out. They see that Biden's gonna lose to Trump. I really wish I'd give him credit. I just forgot who that said his theory. It's not my theory. I saw someone who laid this out. I think it was very smart. The media is turning on Biden. This segment is done because at this point they want Gavin Newsom in. At this point they see the polls and they're like, boy, we tried to have your back. We tried to make this shit happen, but this shit not happening no more. And if you guys are not willingly step down, we're gonna go after you guys and force you guys to step down. That's my hypothesis. Not that important, but that's why I think it's going on here because it gets even more brutal. This fact check on Biden and Joanne Reid and MSNBC only gets more brutal as we go on.
That President Biden made, none of the documents were highly classified. Let's listen.
None of it was high classified. Didn't have any of that red stuff on it. You know what I mean? Around the corners? None of that.
Daniel?
That claim that he didn't have any material that was quote unquote high classified is also not true, John. This
Zoya, why don't they say that it's a lie? Why don't they say Biden just fucking lied in front of national television? This claim that Biden made is not true.
How dare you attack a lovable grandfather, Nick? You're so mean. And also to your Newsom point, I will keep hammering this till the day I die. Newsom is Pelosi's nephew. Do not ever forget that we have political dynasties in this country. That whole family tree is full of governors and judges and the Gettys. And Newsom he used to be married to Donald Trump Jr.'s girlfriend or wife too, as far as his relationship to Republicans. So this is all, we're just getting the same people from the same genetic pools selling us the same garbage while the military industrial complex is supported bipartisanly.
If you guys ever want to have a fun experiment, just take a random politician, a random senator, a random governor, type their name in the Wikipedia and look into their background. There's a good chance that their parents was also politicians. Manchin from West Virginia, Joe Manchin. I forgot, I blanked on his first name at first. Joe Manchin. His father was in government. I think his father like a governor or something. Then he has uncles that was in city council. They was also in government. And then you read his biography. He's like, yeah, his family was in government, and he got in government. He also got family members that own massive amount of real estate, so they landlords in the state. There are landlords in the state. They own massive real estate. They own businesses, so they are literally in charge of the workers in that country. They employ a lot of workers. One of his daughters-in-laws is married to someone who owns an oil, not oil, but a coal factory. So the point is, the people who think the United States is democracy, you guys are children. The funny thing is they think we're children. People think RBN is unserious. We're one of the few serious people that talk about politics. Everyone thinks that China and Russia are authoritarian states as we live in a democracy. We live in a capitalist dictatorship. West Virginia is a capitalist dictatorship. Joe Manchin had to step down. Then he's not running for another term. He has to step down because they can't get rid of him. He will never lose. And then once he steps down, someone else from the Manchin dynasty is going to step in. Or someone they know, a friend of the Manchin dynasty. You guys think you're in democracy. This is capitalist dictatorship, and it's pathetic. Like I'm to the point where I'm old and cranky, so I view people as pathetic. If you're like my age and older and you haven't caught on, I literally view it as pathetic. In the age of information, we had the internet for 20 plus years in the modern as it is today, at least 20 years. and you guys still think this shit is democracy? At a certain point, I do believe in responsibility. There's a difference between a leftist and a liberal. I believe people are responsible for their people. People are responsible for revolution. People are responsible for their community. You're responsible for your intellectual growth. At a certain point in the year 2024, where all you motherfuckers got phones and all you guys got access to information, I am drawing my line in the sand. That's why I said about soldier parents. I was watching football the other day. There was a commercial with his military family talking about PTSD and how their son died in the military. That shit unacceptable to me now. And my son sacrificed so much. It's a commercial that runs all the time. We were so proud of our son's sacrifice. He has PTSD. I'm watching shit like, bro, I just did a segment on this. This shit not acceptable no more, man. There's a difference between a liberal and a leftist, and a liberal and a Marxist. Liberals don't believe in responsibility. You know what I mean? I do believe in responsibility. This is what more conservative socialists, when you look at socialists in the global south, when you look at Soviets, they are conservative. They believe that you should have responsibility. We just believe that you should be paid your labor value. We are the builders. We are the one who build societies. We are the one who advocate work. We are the one who advocate personal responsibility. We the one that got their labor value. We want to work hard and be paid well. That's a rant for another time. I need to shut up. We almost 2 hours. I need to stop with the rants. Let's continue with the CNN segments as they continue to brutally fact check Joe Biden here.
That claim that he didn't have any material that was quote unquote high classified is also not true, John. The special counsel's report says that the president possessed multiple highly classified documents that were indeed marked as being highly classified documents, including some marked as top secret /SCI, sensitive compartmented information. That is a very high level of classification. For example, special counsel Hur discussed 2 top secret documents about Afghanistan found in that open, unsealed, damaged box in the garage, one of which Hur said contains highly sensitive info about military programs, and another that contains info about sensitive intelligence and sources and methods. Now, it's not clear, John, if any of those Biden documents had those colored borders we saw on classified docs that former President Trump had, which I think is what President Biden was referring to when he talked about red around the corners. But still, whatever coloring these documents had, the special counsel says they were clearly marked as highly classified. And then I should add, Hur also said that investigators' analysis of Biden's own handwritten notes from his time as vice president showed that these notebooks also contained highly classified info, though those were not marked. And Hur said a sampling of 37 excerpts found that, quote, 8 are top secret with sensitive compartmented information, 7 of which include information concerning human intelligence.
So Biden claim is that none of the documents that he had was highly classified. An extremely Trumpian lie, the same thing they will eviscerate Trump for doing, and they are just brutally slapping that down, as you guys are seeing. He said his claim is not true. Why won't you call Biden a liar like you called Trump? This is a malicious lie that he's repeating, but let's continue.
Sources, plus 6 others that were top secret.
And then the third claim that he made, Daniel, there was that he did not share classified information with a ghostwriter.
And which is a egregious crime. Where you share classified information with someone without security clearance. This is the kind of shit they say Trump would do, Zoya. That Trump is so vain that he would give classified documents to a ghostwriter so he would do a better job on his biography. That's the kind of shit they would tell you Trump would do. But that's Biden. Remember, blue MAGA, red MAGA. They are the 2 sides of the same coins. And he's been saying that, oh, I didn't do that. Now let's watch CNN brutally fact check this.
On a book he was working on. Listen to that.
I did not share classified information. I did not share it.
With your ghostwriter?
With my ghostwriter, I did not. Guarantee you did not.
But the special counsel said...
No, I did not say that.
Okay.
He did not say that.
So he's entitled to say he didn't do it. He can defend himself. But he also said the special counsel didn't say that he did share that classified info with the ghostwriter. Except, John, the special counsel did say that explicitly. Hur wrote, quote, Mr. Biden shared information, including some classified information from those notebooks with his ghostwriter. So there it is in black and white. Now, Hur did elaborate that Biden...
There it is, black and white. Where's the motion, sir? You guys see how RB, and I show emotion every damn segment, probably too much. But when they do segments on Trump, they're like, this is another example of Trump attacking the legal process. Trump said the special counsel is a liar. Trump said this. Trump lied about this. This is an example why Trump is a danger to our democracy. But this is not one, not two, but three claims that Biden made in a press conference addressed to the American people where he's maliciously lying, but at no point in this segment do they ever say that Joe Biden's a liar. Zoya, where in this segment do they ever say Joe Biden is a liar that did a press conference where he lied to the American people? I make this point because, guys, they use soft language for a reason. Sorry, Zoya, if you want to chime in, feel free.
No, I was just going to say, Nick, he's not a Republican. How do you expect CNN to criticize him?
Well said. Well said. So, you guys say at RBN, we show our emotions every time, but whenever they talk about Donald Trump, they will call him a liar, but they won't say Biden's a liar, which is exactly what Biden did. Well, then this is not just one fact check. Like, oh, let's fact check one. This is three devastating fact checks that came from the press conference. So not only did he have the funny, unhinged performances that we was talking about on my hotspot video, I was talking about that. I was talking about like the unhinged part of it, where he said I'm the most qualified person to run this country. We did some funny editing with it. It was a fun video. But this is the more substantive part of what I wanted to cover, is that Biden is the same liar that they say Trump is. The same reason why people claim to have Trump derangement syndrome, because he's a unique, grotesque liar. They said when Trump was charged with classified documents, he lied about. I still remember how the media critiqued Trump's criticism of that charge. Everything that Trump did, Biden and his media allies are doing. But let me continue. Let finish the video up, and we get to the Zelensky topic. Be real quick, maybe a shotgun 5-minute segment, because we do got to wrap up here soon. But let's continue.
Shared classified info with the ghostwriter by reading nearly verbatim from the notebooks on at least 3 occasions, including notes from meetings in the Situation Room. He did find that Biden, quote, at times tried to avoid sharing classified info, like by skipping over certain material as he was reading them to the ghostwriter. And Hurd did write that the evidence does not show that Biden knew the info was classified. Nonetheless, even though the special counsel did clearly give him some material to defend himself with, this is not a factual defense. So he could cite the factual stuff, Hur said, didn't know it was intentional, etc. But declaring the special counsel just did not say what he said, John, is not a factual defense.
Important to note, Daniel Dale.
Look at the fucking language this weasel used. It's not a factual defense. You mean he lied? I told you guys they're smart. They're not dumb. They're so smart, they know exactly what words to use. I've seen the Trump segments. I don't cover them because they're not worth my time covering. But I see them. They be like, Trump is blatantly attacking our democracy and our legal system by undermining the special counsel. That's the language they use. Meanwhile, his language is Biden is just simply not being factual. I hate soft language. You guys know it. Zoya, any last thoughts? I'll read a few more super chats. Then the Zelensky segment, I literally just want to show you guys the protest, because I don't want the title to be clickbait, so I want to make sure I definitely cover this quickly. I'm going to show you guys Zelensky being protested, but any last thoughts on that as I pull some?
Yeah, I just want to really quickly talk about what Biden has actually done. So the Ukraine proxy war, instigations with China, increased fracking and oil drilling, charging water protectors as domestic terrorists under his own Patriot Act, no student debt relief, Roe v. Wade not codified, record inflation, which is really price gouging, illegally violating asylum laws like Trump, assaulted Tara Reid, which killed me too, deregulating hedge fund investing like Trump, kids still in cages, crushing railroad workers, strikes, soaring healthcare costs, and declining life expectancy. 20% of adults in the U.S. are illiterate, record-breaking suicides, housing and unhoused crisis, mass incarceration with deadly conditions, tax cuts and PPP loans for the rich, corporate subsidies and bailouts, didn't reinstate Iran deal, bombed Somalia and Yemen. The Joy Trump pick for the USPS is still in charge of the USPS because they were fear-mongering us that this is what we have to do. This is why we have to vote for Biden. Wheat is not removed as a Schedule 1 substance. Military budget largest in history. He sniffs women and children, 5 coming forward to claim assault and harassment, push weapons of mass destruction, lie to invade Iraq, funding border wall more than Trump did, deporting more people than Trump did, ending school lunch programs and no minimum wage increase, plus the building of super prisons and cop cities that are popping up everywhere. Now tell me how he's not a Republican or better than Trump.
Zoya is love. Zoya is like, Zoya is too powerful, man. Zoya is too powerful. I can't really remember all that shit. I had to make this Twitter thread because Biden has been so disastrous. I have a hard time remembering the sins that sometimes I'm like, damn, man, this dude, they have done so much shit. And that was such a brilliant breakdown. I made a thread like this. I'm not going to read all of them. I covered this on Livestream before. I have a long list of reasons not to vote for Joe Biden. And it's so long. Like, and the date of this tweet was before Joe Biden supported a genocide. Anyone who if I vote for Joe Biden, I wouldn't be able to sleep at night, for one. Anyone who advocates to continue to vote for Joe Biden is completely morally bankrupt and is the enemy of the working class. And I am 100% willing and okay with drawing that line. Anyway, let's read a few super chats before I forget. Then I get to the Zelensky story. I'll make the story very quick because I did not plan on going 2 hours today. But I had Zoya on today. Zoya is too powerful. I can't contain Zoya. You guys think I can have a conversation with Zoya that's short in 2 hours? I'll try next time, my friend.
I want to add one thing on Biden, I'll start off with the fact that RBN does the God's work, like breaking down MSM propaganda. But ultimately, we know that Biden is not calling the shots. And it kind of robs us of a victory because we have spent years exposing this guy has been in government for 50 years. He was friends with KKK members. I mean, we could do 2 hours on just Biden's crimes alone. But now all the joy of defeating him is gone. He's old. He's 1 foot in the grave. And we know he's not calling the shots. And I want us eventually to evolve to a point where we understand that these are puppets and we need to be directing our critiques at the people who fund them, at the people who are actually writing legislation in this country, which are not the congressmen. Look it up. It's a fact. There are lobbyists writing the laws. Congress people don't even read them before voting on them. So I want us to target power. I want us not to punch down at each other and not to punch down at puppets, but to go after the people that are actually ruining our lives, that are trying to tell us that we can afford clean water in Flint, but we can afford another war. These liars will drag us to the brink of poverty. And I feel like they are just testing how much we will take. Biden's presidency has exposed the sham of this government, and we need to organize and take on the powerful. And the best way to do it is solidarity of the proletariat, because our labor is our strength, and our labor can shut down this entire system. So let's get there eventually, my friends.
Zoe, man, you fire me up. Zoe be getting me fired up. Zoe be on her speeches. I'm like, nigga, let's do a mutual aid event right now. That's why we love Zoe here. Let's get some super chats before I move on to the last segment. Once again, I'm gonna look at the clock. This Zelensky segment is gonna be no longer than 5 minutes, but I have to do it because it's an entitled. Have anyone checked in on? Oh, you already read this one. Sorry, long stream. Glory to Russia, base James. Thank you for the 1999. I would say glory to anyone who resisting U.S. imperialism. That's Russia has the same. We have the same enemy. We have the same interest, because I can do a long rant, but I won't because I'll try and be disciplined. How U.S. imperialism does not benefit us at all. Look at our streets. Look at our cities. They look like we benefited from U.S. imperialism. Anyway, I'll shut up because I have done that rant many times before. Thank you for the $2, Marvin. Distractions, chaos is Zionist playground. Well said. We're going to finish super chats. We only have 4 more here. Then $5, Natalie. In my opinion, any ism or ocracy
is only as good as those in charge. We must stop putting the power in the hands of few. Get the money out of our politics. Absolutely. Thank you for $5, Natalie. Friend of the show. Another friend of the show, Todd. Thank you for $5. Fun note, just looked at Twitter. RFK Jr. tweets mentioning Shmuley are gone. He did tweet about him, right? Nah, bro, too late. I don't know if it's true, but even RFK did the most glorious face turn you can think about. Even if RFK went on the gray zone, he renounced his Israel takes, nigga, too late. You're complicit with a whole genocide, sir. You guys realize there's nothing that RFK could say that will ever make me take him seriously as an anti-establishment candidate. Even if he did delete all Shmuley's tweets. Thanks for letting me know. I'm not attacking Todd, but thanks for letting me know. I'm saying there's nothing that RFK can do, or nothing that anyone who supported genocide can do that will ever put him on the right side ever again. Let's continue with this super chat here. Thank you for 499. Michael, can't always listen live because it's too noisy at work, but I can always listen the next day. Absolutely. Most of the people that support the channel are members of the working class, and I expect, like most people watch the replay. That's what I expect with a longer stream. So cut it up. I listen to independent media when I do chores. Why I used to sell cars? That's why I like listen to the most independent media. Because when you sell cars, we only with a customer around 10% of the time. So fucking boring, man. I did a lot of my reading. I became the monster that I am now when I sold cars. Because we'd be fucking there. They be like, man, you gotta make 30 phone calls a day. I did that in 2 hours, fam. And then you spend 2 hours with a customer, and then we work 10 hours, 12-hour days. So I'm like, man, I don't got shit else to do. I'll read. I'm reading history. So, and then I'll become a radicalized guy. My bosses that will rip me off too at the same time. Anyway, that's a story for another day. Let's move on. I think this is two more. How Zionists took over the United States. Read The Secrets of the Federal Reserve by Gustav Mullins. This is why I'm a nerd, man. There's too much stuff to read, man. I definitely need to check that out. Thanks for the 999. This is the last super chat of the day. Then we get to the 5-minute Zelensky story. Multiple props to you, Nick. Appreciate the support. We got a lot of super chats this stream, so I appreciate it. Let's get to the last segment. I'm sorry I keep saying I told you so. But I told you so. I hope Taiwan is listening. I hope Taiwan's paying attention, Zoya. Taiwan is rejecting the United States. Taiwan's sentiment had changed because they seen what happened in Ukraine. I told you guys at the beginning of the counteroffensive that if they go ahead with this counteroffensive, they are doomed. They are fucked. But the United States in the West needed a win to show to the people because they send all this billions of dollars to Ukraine. So you need to show a win for us so we can give something to our people so we can continue this money laundering scheme. So they said there's going to be a counteroffensive. We heard that in the media weeks before it happened, months before it happened. They said there's going to be a Ukrainian counteroffensive. And Ukraine was like, what? A what? And then in the West was like, we said there's going to be a Ukrainian counteroffensive coming. Ukraine like, what are you talking about? We getting our ass kicked. We have a hard time finding soldiers. The West, we said there's going to be a counteroffensive. Then Ukraine was like, oh, damn. All right. We got to do a counteroffensive. We're going to keep this gravy train running. I promise you guys, that is exactly what happened. The West forced these motherfuckers going on this counteroffensive. I told you guys this over a year ago. Like, this shit they're fucked. And after the counteroffensive is over, you're going to see Ukraine start to deteriorate. So once the counteroffensive fails, you got to blame someone. What went wrong? Is Zelensky going to take personal responsibility? You guys think Zelensky, the egotistical maniac, is going to take responsibility for the failed counteroffensive? Nope. This is where Zelensky come in. The general that he's throwing under the bus for this failed counteroffensive. So he fired one of the most popular generals in Ukraine. Zelensky? I struggle to say that. Zelensky?
Zaluzhny.
Zoya, you here to help me out. I know who I'm talking about. I just have a hard time saying his name. But he's a very popular general in Ukraine. So Zelensky decided to throw him under the bus. And that's a horrible decision that only an amateur politician like Zelensky will make. Remember, this guy is not an experienced wartime politician. This was a horrible move by Zelensky. When I heard it was going on, I was like, bro, what? This is gonna end horrible. And it end as horribly as I thought it would. So here's a protest. We're gonna end our long segment. That's my preface. I'm gonna get Zoya take on it.
And just a little context also, that there were rumors of this happening and a lot of speculation, but it didn't actually take place until Victoria Nuland paid a visit to Ukraine. So this is a move by the U.S. 100%. Zelensky doesn't make any decisions in the Ukraine.
Yeah, let's. This is the video of the protest. People furious, and they're calling for the resignation. I'll just read the description. Zelensky, get out. In Kyiv, people have gathered on Maidan demanding the return of Zelensky. God damn it. And the resignation of Zelensky. I wonder how many of these people watched the Tucker Putin interview. That's a great point. Let's watch this. Let's see this is the original source. Yeah, Zelensky, get out. Yeah, so I just want to make sure. And key people are gathered on the Maidan demanding the return of Zelensky and resignation of Zelensky. So here's the video. So we are witnessing the beginning of the end for Ukraine. It's been over. It's been checkmate. You see the smarter people, the smartest among the NATO left, the Western countries, they are desperately looking for an exit ramp. That's why you even see conversations about a settlement here. The dumbest among us, like Boris Johnson, they're still going all in. The dumbest among us, like Joe Biden, they're still all in. The smartest among the people who decide to go with the disaster Ukraine proxy war, they're trying to find an exit ramp. So Zoya, I passed it for you for last words because I promised I was going to keep this short. So Zoya, feel free to take the floor. Anything you want to add to this, and what it seems to be the downfall of Zelensky, which we all knew was coming, but it's happening right now. Any last thoughts, Zoya?
Yeah, it's gonna be a long rant, so maybe pack
Feel free. Floor is yours.
I hate to speculate, and I really don't know if Zelensky's going to be removed right now or later. He definitely doesn't have a future in Ukraine. It's only a matter of time. That's a certainty we can observe. But when they're going to do that, I have no idea. The puppet strings are being pulled by monsters like Victoria Nuland and the CIA. Putin alluded to this. We have witnessed it happen. We have hot mics from Victoria Nuland herself. So again, we see another puppet figure. And I don't like to focus on puppet figures because we have, for accurate analysis, we have to figure out who's actually doing this. Now, Putin is being framed as someone who illegally launched this operation. But actually, what Putin has said in his other speeches, which I recommend Americans go look up more of his speeches, even if you hate him, just to inform yourself straight from the horse's mouth. So when they say Russia invaded Ukraine, it's a distortion of facts. It's actually gaslighting. On the contrary, Russia's invasion in Donbass or intervention in Donbass is lawful per the UN Charter. The Charter 1 UN self-determination outlines this. And Putin was very deliberate in following the UN law to the T so that he can call out Western hypocrisy. Because there's a bigger geopolitical picture to consider here. And this is beyond just what's happening in Ukraine, obviously. China, BRICS, all of these forces that are rising in the world, they're the real threat. And we know that this was really about trying to weaken Russia. They just simply didn't succeed. And Russia was able to turn everything around into a victory. The economy is booming. They overtook Germany as the 5th largest economy in the world in purchasing power parity. And I'm glad that Putin corrected Tucker on China, because China and Russia, and this is fundamental to understand, they are acting in the best interests of their people, as leaders should, but they operate in a mentality of negotiating and compromising with respect towards the leaders of other countries. And we really underestimate the power of BRICS. With Saudi Arabia and Russia, they control something like 30% of the world's oil reserves. Once you add in all of the BRICS countries, it's over 50%. This is the real threat. The real reason we're in Ukraine is BRICS. The real threat, is the end of U.S. hegemony and the dollar using its value and its power. And for those who really hate Russia, I don't know if I'm going to blow some Republican minds right now, but I urge all of you to remember that as the American Civil War raged on, who came to the Americans' aid? It was Russia. In 1863, the Russian Navy's Baltic and Pacific fleets also wintered in the American ports of New York and San Francisco. So Russia backed up America. I'm not sure if you guys would have an America without Russia's backing. Maybe that's an overstatement, but regardless, you were more than happy to take aid from Russia when it suited you. And now you paint Russia as a monster. And that's only because they are a threat to your power. It's a complete disgrace and inaccuracy. And on a final note, I always like to lead us back into organizing, because pointing out all of the things going wrong in the world can be depressing and leave people feeling hopeless. And that's not what I want. And I know that's not what RBN wants, because they're actually putting boots on the ground, organizing, getting people water and diapers, and doing things that impact people materially. So that is something that I want people who identify themselves as leftists to all start doing. There was some recent controversy. I don't know if you saw it, Nick, but a friend of mine, Kieran, who's been on RBN, posted that leftists all need to start working out, exercising, learning self-defense. And famously, there's a quote, about taming the mind and savaging the body. We will not be able to achieve any kind of change without self-care and discipline. Where your love towards your community starts is with love towards yourself. So you have to self-care, you have to get yourself into shape, and you have to stop making excuses not to do any of these things and reach out to your community. There's no one coming to save you. Things are progressively getting worse, and we are in the belly of the beast, where we can have the most impact on geopolitical outcomes. So get out of your chairs. Even if you're someone without the ability to do so, there's always work for you to do, whether it's flyers or graphics or phone calls. There's always a task. There's always a way that you can contribute. But the bottom line is that we can bitch about this online until we're all in the grave and watching this world burn. What we need to do is actually stand up in our communities, reach out to our neighbors, start forming tenant organizations where you can leverage things against your landlord, learn solidarity, organize your workplace, join a mutual aid. There are endless things you could do that in your lifetime will impact your situation locally. The phrase think globally, act locally, this is what we all have to do. None of you are going to get on a direct flight to Ukraine or Palestine or Somalia. So let's do what we can. And by the way, I also want to mention that there are 6 million dead in the Congo. I'm glad that the Palestine issue has caught fire and people's attention, and finally people are protesting. But make no mistake, Genocides have been raging on for decades, and there are more that you don't hear about than the ones you do. And none of them are small, and none of them are meaningless. So we still have comrades in Haiti and all across the world that are counting on us to do this. So it might be hard, and I don't want to be insensitive, and I don't want anyone to feel left out. I do not care if you identify as a Republican, a liberal, or any other label that the establishment has invented simply to divide us. Start talking to people. I know from canvassing that you can change minds and hearts because we all care about the same thing. We all want healthcare. We all want clean water. We all want education for our children. Find common ground, do what you can, and leave this world better than you found it.
Zoya is love. Zoya is life. Not even going to try to follow that. Not even going to try. How can you? Zoya is too powerful. Hope you guys enjoy the stream. Now you guys see why we love Zoya here at RBN. We got to do this. Zoya, Nick and Zoya on Saturday every once in a while. So this is fun. As always, I see you guys. I think I'll be back on Tuesday. I have a Saul Rod that joined us again. She was here last month on Nick at Night and Nick at Noon. She has an article about the ICJ and why it's absolutely devastating for Israel. And we know we love a Saul Rod here, and she kills it with her articles. I love having her perspective. That's Tuesday. So what did I tell you guys when we started Nick at Night season 2? I told you guys we got banger after banger after banger after banger after banger after banger after banger. So after this banger, we got Saul Rod that's going to come on this show. Know what I mean? Banger after banger after banger. So anyway, make sure you guys check us out. I'll be back on Tuesday with that. Make sure you guys, I have the merch in the description. I have Zoya. You guys see her ad on the screen. I have it in the description as well. Make sure you guys follow Zoya on Twitter. RBN merch in the description, Patreon, Cashapp, Venmo, any way you want to support the show. Help us continue to create great content like this. JB has a fantastic show he does on Sunday. I think that's the next RBN live streams. JB tomorrow at noon.
Nick,
I'll be back on Tuesday.
I'm sorry. I DM'd you the Patreon video. I wanted to thank the patrons of RBN with you.
Oh, shit. See, guys, you have no idea how powerful Zoya is. Let me see if I can pull this up. You guys have no idea the power in which she has. We've been wanting to do this for a while, this Patreon video. We see our friends that do distance do this. It's a great idea. It's a great way to support. Let's see, how can I pull it without showing all our DMs? Oh, well, I'm gonna go for it here. Let me pull this up. Sorry guys, I don't feel like being on camera no more. I've been on camera for 2 hours. So let me put this up and take my camera away. I'm kind of done showing my face right now. So we're trying to work on this. Zoya, guys, you have no idea how powerful Zoya is. No idea. We have Jamu who's returning as well sometime in next week or so.
On the 13th. He's going to be the same day as Asal, so it's going to be a very powerful day. You got a Jamu.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Let's go.
Let's go. Mark your calendars.
Let's go. What time is that? What time is that, Zoya? She know more than me.
1 p.m. for a Jamu, and then next week after that, we're going to have the great Shama back on RBN.
Oh, let's go. Banger after banger after banger. We just had Garland Nixon on. Then CJ had a show with Lee Camp. Now we got Shama coming back. Now we got Asal Rod on the same day as Jama. Are you serious? You guys got to support the Patreon. That's how we continue to grow. And we're going to continue to make these lists. Thank you for helping put this together, Zoya. Actually, this is a video, so I'll end it with this. So I'll put this on the screen. Thank you, Zoya, for this. Thank you guys for support. I'll see you guys later. Peace out.